We're online now? Okay, welcome back. Great. Let's say hi again to all our friends who are watching online. Yes, okay. Yeah, there we go. That's better. See, the first one was rehearsal. This one came out better this time. Okay, so we're going to join together. We have an affirmation that we do every week because, as we said, our life is based on the way we believe. You know, the few minutes that I spoke, I put something online just before we get started. You know, the way our life goes is dependent on the way we believe. If you really think about it, everything in our life is based on the way we believe. Every decision we make, every word we speak, every action we do is based on how we believe the universe works. And unfortunately, we've allowed the outside world and even our friends or loved ones with good intent, but also not understanding the system of the universe, to inject us with false beliefs. How many of you have any kind of limited belief about yourself? Yes? Some way or other? Exactly. And how many of those limited beliefs have your friends or your loved one told you, no, you can do much more. You're so much more capable. Right? You ever heard that? You're so much more capable. You have so much more potential. So what's holding you back? It's not the other people. It's our own limited beliefs. And so what the center is dedicated to and the Spiritual Sunday is about is helping us to change our belief system, unblock ourselves. And so every Sunday we keep raising the bar of our consciousness by this simple affirmation that we're going to say together. Because we've got to understand that we are much more capable than we give ourselves credit for. And we're going to see today how much more we really, really are capable of so that we can live into that capability. So in a second, there we go. So if I can ask you to say it together, and those of you following us online, you can say it with us together. Consciousness is everything. I raise my consciousness today to see the miracles and wonders of life. I commit myself to behave with greater love, compassion, and kindness towards all human beings. Now, who does that include? It includes everyone here, which we're going to do in a minute. But I would like you to think about, as we're greeting each other, think about one person in your life that you have an issue with. Oy vey. Okay. Oh no. Right? And think about it this way. As you're greeting each other here, or those of you online who are greeting each other in the comment section, think to be greeting that person. Just think that as you're hugging the people here, or greeting the people here, or greeting people online, you are awakening in that person kindness, love, and compassion to a higher level. Whatever it is that's bothered you about them, you are now helping them to overcome it. So even if it's just to behave better to you, they're going to start behaving better to you. They're growing in that direction. Would that be advantageous to you? Yes. But you have to make the first move. You've got to think of them and embrace them with your light and your love and your blessing and your good thoughts. All right? So we're making it a little easier because everybody here in this room and everyone who's watching us, we know are good people and are loving and kind. So it's easy to already start the process. But keep in mind that person, that you're embracing them and you're helping them to realize also the only reason they behave in a negative way is because they've believed limited thoughts about themselves and false beliefs about themselves. Right? Aquarius is about freedom, enlightenment, and I wanted to bring in some clarity. So I wanted to discuss the idea of God. Yes, we talk about it, we infer it in many different ways, but I wanted to make sure it's very clear. Because as we said, and if it all starts with God, the Creator, if we understand the nature of the Creator, then it's easier to understand our nature. Because we've all heard some way or other that we're created in the image and likeness of God. But if we don't understand what that image and likeness means or what it is, then how do we know who we are and what we are? So we don't know. Now, I want to put out for the new people, I'm not asking you to believe it. I'm sharing with you Kabbalistic wisdom on this nature of God or the Creator or whatever you want to call it. Right? At least be open, because for many of you it's going to shift a lot of things and it may fly in the face of a lot of things that you've believed up to now. So I'm not telling you have to believe, but I am asking you don't just dismiss the idea. Right? Just listen, mull it over, let it sink in, and see how it can change your life as it's changed mine. So let's just start very simply. If we think of God from a religious point of view, the way probably many of us were raised, so God is some kind of person, sits up in the heavens somewhere and looks over the earth. Now the issue is, and in the number of years that I've been involved, not only in Kabbalah, but on a spiritual path even before Kabbalah, people have different ideas. If you ask people what God is to them, do you think we get the same idea? You thinking about it? No, we probably have different ideas. For some people, God is this very warm and friendly, sort of grandfatherly figure sitting up there and, looking at us saying, gee, I wish you'd just be a nicer person or a better person, or here, let me help you out a little bit. For some people, there's a God up there that's just vengeful and jealous and angry and whatever, and seeking only to look at our sins and our negativity, etc. So you have all kinds of different things. And also, from that point of view, what do we say? Well, if there's a creator out there that's all powerful and it's watching over us, then maybe if we do the right things or say the right things or pray the right way, etc., maybe then we can get that God, that power to do something good for us. And maybe not even for us. What about for our friends? Right? We want good for Johnny. We want good for Mary. We want good for other people. We want good for the world. So we've got to start now shifting that thought. Then you've got spirituality. A lot of people say, well, I'm tired of the religious idea. I don't really have affinity with it. It doesn't click with me anymore. Now I want to be spiritual. And unfortunately, spirituality has just gone the opposite way. Now everything, it's almost like spiritual anarchy. You can do whatever you want and feel you're connected to God. Right? Look at the sun, meditate on the sun, hug the tree, just chant a little bit, and that's all we have to do. So Kabbalah gives us if we stop and think about it, even just in the simplest way, a logical, sensible understanding. Right? How many of you use a cell phone? My favorite example. How many of you don't use a cell phone? Okay. Only some of the hands were raised. Maybe they were thinking it's a trick question. Use a cell phone. In order to get the person you want on the cell phone, what do you have to do correctly? You have to dial the right numbers in the right order, right? In the right way on your cell phone to make it work. Yes or yes? Yes. You cannot dial the wrong number or switch two numbers and say, look who I am, look what I do, look how kind and nice and loving and everything else, and expect to get the person on the other side of the phone. It's not going to work. Technology is technology. Now, simple logic, objectivity will tell us, where does physical technology come from? Does it cause the spiritual world, or is the spiritual world the cause of the physical? Spiritual causes the physical, right? You have a hunger, you go to eat. You are thirsty, you go to drink. You're angry, you go to scream. Which comes first? The physical act or the internal, sort of invisible energy? The invisible. But you can see if somebody's screaming and yelling, is it a pretty good idea? Can you pretty much make a bet that they're angry inside? Yes. Exactly. So if there's physical technology, there also has to be spiritual technology. And then the same way that you can't dial whatever number you want and get the person you want, or you can't use your computer in any way, or we can't even use this camera any way we want, you have to use technology. So too the Kabbalists teach us about the universe and about God itself. It's also technology. It also works in a very specific way. And that's what we're here learning. Because then the more, just like our physical technology, the more you understand technology, the more benefit you can derive from your cell phone, your computer, the camera, whatever it may be, right? Yes or yes? Yes. Okay. So then the same way, we have to understand the power of the Creator and how the universe is set up. Because if we just continue the way we have been, then that's just insanity, is it not? Doing the same thing again and again and again, expecting different results. So we need to understand Kabbalistically, we will look at the Creator, God, as an infinite energy force called light. Light. Just in the similar way to the physical world. What do we all know about light in a dark room? You turn on the light, what happens to the darkness? Goes away. Has it ever happened that you turn on the light and the darkness stays? No, not that the light bulb doesn't work, smart Alex. Look, okay. They're testing me. You walk in, if the light bulb goes on, the darkness disappears 100% of the time, yes? Yes. Have you ever seen a fight between the darkness and the light? No, the darkness just disappears in an instant. As long as that light bulb goes on, the darkness will go away. If you go out in the middle of the jungle somewhere with a candle in a dark cave and you turn on a candle, a source of light, what happens to the darkness around you? It also disappears. So if that's true physically, then we want to understand the same thing with the Creator. As we will turn on the light, the darkness will also go away. Will also go away. So then, light now is much easier for all of us to have a handle on. If we say God, we can be mixed up in our mind. We talk about the light, it's much easier to grasp. That the light is this infinite force of sharing, fulfillment, love, kindness, blessing, compassion, all the good things that we would like to think is God. Then who are human beings then? If God is an infinite light force, who are we? We were created by God, by the light. And therefore, the Kabbalists explain, we are vessels. We are containers of that light. Our soul is our true spiritual being, and it is filled with the light of the Creator. So just like some of you probably already had a cup of coffee, right? Or some drink in the morning, yes, a glass of water, lemon juice, something. So be careful, did you eat the glass or the cup? Or did you just drink what was in the cup? But without the cup, without a container, you couldn't drink the coffee, the water, the milk, or whatever you had, yes? So we have one of those over here, right? Just right out of the container. But you get the idea. The cup isn't really what you're looking for, but it's the container for what you want. So we are containers of the light of the Creator. And the Creator, in its beneficence, gave us a soul full of light. So that's who we are. So we are already in absolute potential perfect. That's why those of you who are parents, when you look at your kids as they were growing up, why did you look at them and say, they have so much potential? This one has athletic ability, this one is smart in math, this one is, English major, they do well with the languages and things like that. Where'd that come from? I know as parents we want to say, I did it. But at 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, it's hard to say that I gave them all those talents and abilities. So they came with it. Now we begin to understand why, because the Creator gave every one of us already 100%. We have a vessel, a container, a soul filled with light, the power to remove all darkness, all chaos, all pain and suffering. So then the nature of the Creator is light. It just shines on us all the time, everywhere. So there's nowhere in our life that we might feel we have some difficulty, that the solution, the answers, the light of the Creator, total fulfillment doesn't exist. The issue is what? That we don't see the light and we don't know how to connect to the light. Because we've been so misguided in so many ways to believe that it's up to the Creator. Well, let's ask. If we're going to say that the pattern of the universe is based on a Creator that is angry and jealous and chaotic and fearful and sometimes likes us and sometimes doesn't, then what would the world look like eternally? Chaos, pain, and suffering. Some of you are already thinking, well, Chaim, all of human history, that's what it's been. But it's not God's fault. It's not the light's fault. It's the lack of people understanding how to connect with that light, how to make use of that light. So even when you read the Bible, and most of you have been around for a while here in the center, you know that we explain, as the Kabbalists teach us, that the Bible, the 5 books of Moses, is simply a coded document. It has its physical truth. We do believe in the chronology of the Bible, but more importantly is the spiritual lessons that it teaches us. And therefore you cannot take it only on its literal level. Can I throw a quick one in here? Yeah. Okay, let's make it not too controversial. I think God's already becoming a little controversial. But let me ask you, right in the beginning of creation, It says, and there was this and this and this was created, and there was evening and morning day 1, evening and morning day 2, evening and morning day 3. If we're going to believe the Bible literally, how would we have known that it was evening and morning? And what brings the darkness and light that makes evening and morning? The sun and the moon, right? How do you know it's daytime? Because the sun is out. How do you know when it's nighttime? The moon is out. So how could the Bible tell us there was evening and morning day 1, evening and morning day 2, evening and morning day 3, if the sun and the moon weren't created till the 4th day? Question. So you can't take it literally. How could this, okay. Should I throw out one more? It's a little extreme. Got one yes? Okay. 10 Commandments. One of the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not murder. Yes or yes? Yes. What does God tell Moses to tell the Israelites to do when they move into the land of Israel? Kill every man, woman, and child that already inhabit the land. If you only take it literally, then we have more chaos in the world. Like, sadly, we've heard for hundreds or thousands of years, different religious people, and it's probably all the religions throughout history, claim, well, God told them to go wipe out these people, and they did it. And they can base it on the Bible. But you and I understand now, for some of you, the Bible is not to be taken only on the literal level that way. What that simply means is what we learn. Fight the opponent. That's that ego part, right? That sits in our head like a parasite. The ego of selfishness, the ego of fear, the ego of greed, the ego of anger. That's what it meant. That's what those nations in Israel that were sitting there represent for us. Our own greed, our own anger, our own fear, our own guilt, and our own shame. Those are our enemies because they hold us back from the light of the Creator. So when the Bible says God is angry and jealous and this, no. The universe simply is a mirror. How many of you have ever heard of and believe in the law of cause and effect? Well, does cause and effect only work sometimes then? Does it only work for some people? Cause and effect works for everyone. The only issue that makes us not believe that is one thing. Time. How many thieves would steal if they saw 100 thieves walk into a jewelry store, put their hand in the jewelry case to steal, and the hand fell off? How many thieves do you think there would be after that? If they saw 100% of the people lose their hand every attempt to steal, you think people would steal? No. What wouldn't it change, though? In and of itself, it wouldn't change the desire to steal. And we just affirmed what is everything? Consciousness. So the consciousness of the thief, even though the action may not be there, that consciousness still holds them back. So time is the only thing that makes us not believe in cause and effect. Because we see good people who don't get the good right away. We see bad people don't get the bad right away. So we don't believe that there's really cause and effect. But let's stop and be objective. If there's no such thing as cause and effect, then what's the only thing there is? Or would be? Randomness. And if there's randomness, all bets are off. All bets are off. What's the purpose of getting out of bed in the morning if there's randomness? Now you want to say, well, no, here there's cause and effect, here there's randomness. Sometimes there's cause and effect. Yeah, there's cause and effect when I want it to be. When something doesn't work so well, then it must not be cause and effect. Can't say that. Science even told us in the 20th century, everything is cause and effect. Action, reaction. So then the universe is a mirror of us. This world is a creation of humanity. So whether it's in a good shape or a bad shape is not God's fault. It's ours. It's our responsibility. But the moment we can accept that, then the moment we can change it. So the mission of the Kabbalah Center is to teach this wisdom so that we can take control over our life and we can cause peace and harmony to reign in the world. Everybody talks about peace on earth, brotherly love, right? Humanity being together in oneness and all of those good things. But it's not up to God. Think now what you're learning. If God is simply light, the infinite power of sharing, no receiving in the Creator. Because the moment there's a space to receive, what are we saying about the Creator? Not perfect, not full. Has an emptiness. The Creator God is infinitely filled with light, which is only sharing. So then the notion of praying to God doesn't work. It's a false idea. Now again, reminder, I'm not asking you to just believe it. I'm asking you, though, don't just dismiss it. Think it over. Because in order for there to be praying to God, then God has to receive the prayer. But to receive the prayer means there's something missing. I can only receive from you what I'm missing. If I'm already full, there's no receiving. That cup of coffee that you drank this morning, or the juice, if the cup was full, you filled it to the brim, how much more could you put in that cup? Nothing. It's full. There's no receiving in a full cup. So if we believe God is empty, all bets off. Goes back to the randomness. If you believe God is full of light and only shining light so that we have access to the light 24/7, then it's not about praying to God. It's not about begging God for something. It's not about waking God up and say, hey, God, I know you're sleeping up there, but please remember me down here, or remember my friend Johnny who needs a little help, or remember the world that looks like it's in chaos. No. We can only see from our own consciousness. God can only see from its consciousness. So if God is full of light and only perfection, which is our blessing, because there has to be perfection in the original state so we can go back to perfection. So if God is perfect and only perfect, then it can only look at every one of the 7.5 billion people on earth and see what? Perfection! What it created. A perfect being of love, light, compassion, kindness, joy, charity, humility, forgiveness, etc. That's all the Creator can see. So don't expect the Creator to fix this world. It's you and I who have to fix it. The age of enlightenment, the age of Aquarius, right? The issue was, you go back to the 60s. Some of us in the room remember, maybe a few of you online, right? Everything was make love, not war. It was, just be peaceful, kind, the communes, all that stuff, the hippies, right? It was the right idea. What was missing? The wrong actions, the wrong way to implement it, the wrong technology to make it manifest. But the concept was good. Sure, love your neighbor as yourself is a great concept, but how many of us have really understood how to implement it? So we do a little bit. We're kind to our neighbors here and there, but to truly reach the true essence of love your neighbor as yourself is beyond what we're thinking and even probably willing at this moment. But we have to grow into it like everything else. You don't ask of a 5 or a 6-year-old to be responsible like a 20-year-old, do you? Why not? They don't have the understanding. Do they have the potential? Yes, but they have to grow into it. So the same with us. We have to grow into our God-like nature. So it's not begging or beseeching. It's not asking God to wake up and remember we're down here. It's not praying to God. Even when the Bible says, and Moses prayed to God, or this one prayed to God, or whatever, spoke to God. No, we have to look at it now Kabbalistically. We have to understand, yes, the God, and I don't want to make it sound like God is impersonal, or God kind of created the world and ran away, which I've heard people say that, or God is not feeling, or God is not warm. No. God is the ultimate of warmth and love and kindness and compassion, because it's always there empowering us by shining light on us to be more like it. Love, kindness, forgiveness, tolerance, generous, humble, forgiving, etc. It's constantly pushing on us. If there were any imperfection of God, is everyone getting the idea? We'd be lost. Because then we'd always have an eternal imperfection. But if God is infinite perfection, and we have understanding that our soul is filled with that perfection, then it's only allowing that perfection to pour out of us that's missing in our life. It's not we're missing something. We're missing something that we could pour out into the world. We could project into the world. In Kabbalistic terms, the word sin is not, again, how can you sin against God? Now think about it. How many of you have a flashlight or ever used a flashlight? So you walk into a dark room, you turn on the flashlight, and that beam of light, as we've said, takes away darkness, right? How many of you ever walked into a room that's full of light with a flash dark? Right? You turn it on and suddenly there's a beam of darkness goes through the light. No such thing. No such thing. So Kabbalistically, what is a sin? The word avera means to transfer. It's taking the light that the universe is shining on us and transferring it over to that thing we call the opponent, that parasite that sits in our head that gives us free will. Because if we didn't have that parasite, and I call it a parasite to make sure that you understand it's not us. God didn't create us with that parasite called the opponent. We took it in this world as a parasite to give us free will. So it's telling us don't share. The light of the Creator inside of us is saying, do share. Now you have free will, share or not. When a person doesn't share, when they do a negative action, they are transferring the light from goodness, kindness, fulfillment. They're transferring it to the opponent's side, and then the guilt, the anger, the fear, the jealousy, the greed, etc. is just more exacerbated. It's more impactful in the person's life. So we're either adding curtains and blockages between us and each other and us and the light force, or we're taking away those curtains. A sin just means we add another curtain. So there's a greater separation between us and our potential, us and the light of the Creator. We're blocked. It's like if I ask you right now, just put a blindfold or put your hands over your eyes. Did the light go out in the room? Did your eyes stop operating? No, but you've blocked them so you don't see the light. So then you remove your hand and the light all of a sudden shows up. That's what Kabbalah is teaching us. And that's why everything that we learn here is one thing. It's all based really on one thing. How to act like the Creator. How to act like the light. Every type of action of sharing, caring, generosity, kindness, forgiveness, compassion allows more of our light to shine into the world. Takes away those blockages. That's why everything in the Bible, if you read it, why there's so many, be good, be kind, right? What has everybody told us for years that we don't seem to be practicing? It's more blessed to give than to receive. Now we understand why. Because the sharing is more godlike. The receiving will be automatic. We don't have to find ways to receive. We have to find more ways to share. Because when we project the light from our soul out into the world, then it shows up over there and we receive the blessing and the benefit. As long as we're not shining it out there, it doesn't show up. But we have it all, right? 20 and 21st century technology, it's so clear to see, right? You take your DVD, you put it in the player, and you don't have your television on. Do you see the movie? Why not? The DVD doesn't have the information. The movie's not on that DVD. The movie is there. It's just not being projected onto the television screen that you can see it. So the same thing, we already have everything. The only thing we're missing is the sharing of it. And that's why the Bible is full of actions, the precepts, the commandments. They're all about doing what? If you really boil them down, all about sharing. Right? Don't kill, don't steal. Right? Remember, what's the first commandment? Remember, I am God. There's only one God, one light force that's common in every human being's soul. The same light operates the same way. But just like your cell phone, how many of you think that we all have the same people in our contacts? We don't, no? But for you to dial your contacts and me to dial mine, do we have to operate the system of the phone the same way? Hello? Yes. Did I confuse you now? Right? You have to dial the same way, but you can dial uniquely your 10 numbers to get your person. I can dial uniquely my 10 numbers to get my person, but we have to operate the system the same way. The same with the computer and the DVD player and this camera and the sound system and everything we have. The system is the same, but we can use it uniquely. So the Kabbalah Center is not here to tell us we all have to be the same and do the same things and look the same and act the same. No, but the essence, the operating system has to be the same so that humanity will have peace and harmony. Because as long as we're operating on different systems, then we can never have harmony. When I moved to London, I taught in London for about 15 months. Do you think I could drive like America in London? I could, but it wouldn't be very effective, would it? Wouldn't be very good. So I had to learn their system, right? Learn how to drive on the wrong side of the road. And I'm sorry for those of you out there in London, but you get the idea, right? That's it. I had to learn to operate in that system. So the beauty of Kabbalah is its universal wisdom. It's giving us the ways and means that we can all act with the same operating system uniquely for our own talents and abilities. That which is the light inside of us is unique frequency. Again, a simple physical analogy. The rainbow is 7 different colors, but in essence, they are all of electromagnetic vibration, just different frequencies of it. So it shows up red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. So the same with us. We all have the light force, but we all use it and activate it in unique ways. So if we go back again to the Bible, let's think about the Bible. How did Abraham, even though they were talking, what is prayer now? Am I telling you shouldn't pray? No, absolutely not. But to understand what prayer really means is accessing the light. You're plugging into the light of the Creator. What do? Those of you who aren't new, every week at the end of Spiritual Sunday, right, after our offering and the announcements, we have a meditation. What do we meditate on? One of the 72 names of God. They're all different vibrations, attributes of the one light force. But we access the light by the meditation. We're tapping into the light, awakening more of the light inside of us so we can project it more powerfully. That's what prayer is really about. It's about tapping into the light force, activating the light inside of us so we can act as we affirm every week with greater love, kindness, and compassion. We need power to do that. Even what we did this morning, to think of the person that you have an issue with while you're hugging the friendly, warm people here. That's already to awaken more light so you can have more power to think a little differently about that person you have issues with. Realizing that the reason why they're giving you the issue is because they've blocked themselves from their own soul. And therefore, once the light is blocked, in the darkness they can act however they acted towards you in a negative way. So if you can support them to remove the blockages, then they are automatically going to behave in a nicer way, a kinder way, a more loving way, a warm way. That's the way it works. If it's cause and effect and we understand the technology, we have greater control over our destiny. We have the capability to make our lives better. So it's not that God isn't warm and friendly and loving and kind, but it's understanding that it's only that, and it's already been given to us, and now it's up to us. Right? How many times we talk about, we'll change it a little bit, a jigsaw puzzle. You ever buy a jigsaw puzzle for your kids or you? So you buy it, is it perfect or not perfect? Not perfect. It's perfect, but all the pieces are not in place. Right? So you have the perfect picture on the box, you have all the perfect pieces. What's our job? Put it together. To just manifest the perfection that was already there. That's like us. Take the perfection that's inside of us and manifest it through action. That's why you read Abraham. What did Abraham do? Abraham, one God. Because he realized there weren't many gods. There was one light force. That's what he was telling us. But the light force shows up through the moon, through the sun, through the stars, through the plants, through every human being. So he went out to teach people how to understand that there's one universal force, one quantum force called the Creator, this light force, and that's what made him Abraham, because he was out sharing with other people. You read about King David. King David, even he was running away from his enemies and everything else. What was he always expressing? Gratitude. Gratitude to the Creator. So now, does it sound like a paradox? How can he thank God if God doesn't receive? So again, the Bible is a code. It's not we shouldn't be grateful. Yes, of course we should be grateful. But remember, the grateful is our acknowledgement of the power of the light. It's not about thanking God, oh, thank you, God, for bringing me that thing. No, it's cause and effect. If I make a breakthrough in my curtain, if I draw myself closer to the infinite force of the light, then better things are going to show up in my life. So it's cause and effect, but the Creator is always shining on us. So the only thing we are conduits. How many of you have heard in the last 20 years about channels? right? Television shows and all these things about people who channel the light and channel souls and channel this. What's a channel? Let's think about it objectively now. What's a channel mean? Connection. It's a conduit. How many of you ever watered the garden? Okay. How many of you ever put water in a cup from your sink? Okay, from the filtered watered faucet. I'm trying to get people to raise their hands. I don't know what's going on here. Right? Those things, the faucet is a channel, isn't it? The faucet doesn't make water. It channels it. It directs the water from the source of water through the piping to your sink. So too are we. We are just conduits. We can be blocked or unblocked, but we're just conduits. The power we have is the power of the light force. The power to change our destiny, the power to remove chaos, darkness, pain, and suffering is channeling the light. So if we're blocked with anger or fear or jealousy or greed or what have you, then the light can't flow through. Just like your garden hose. If you twist it up a little bit, the water's not going to flow as powerfully. You untwist it, it will flow more powerfully. When we remove our blockages, our light will flow more powerfully. But if we believe we have to get instead of share, then we're already lost. Because you can't fill the cup, you can't fill our vessel more than it's already full. It's been filled by the Creator. So yes, we can have gratitude, we can have appreciation, we can be thankful for the things that we've been able to manifest, acknowledging that it's the Creator's light that's the power and I'm the director, the conduit. So we do have to work together. It's not we're inconsequential. No hose, the water's not going to go where you want. We have to direct the light where we want. But we've always got to remember it's the power of the light force that does the transformation. Think about it. You walk in the room, for how many years have you turned the switch? Right? You turn the switch, the light bulb goes on, the darkness goes away. So we come to the understanding, I turned off the darkness. Right? I turned on the light. So what happens when you flip the switch and the light bulb's now burnt out and the light doesn't shine? Does the darkness go away because you flipped the switch? No, but you've done it for 100 times, and every time you did it, the darkness went away. You just began to forget after a while that it was the light bulb took away the darkness. And it was flipping the switch, it's just activated the light. So the one day that the light bulb burns out, you flip the switch, what happened? Suddenly you come to that. We just learned yesterday a story from Moses. And Moses, according to the Bible, it says, Moses was the most humble man, knew God face to face like this. But we just read from the Kabbalist yesterday, Moses, in the whole story of the Exodus of Egypt, he had to come to the place. It says he was raised in his consciousness to the place to realize how powerful the negative hold Egypt had on the Israelites. How negatively powerful this thing called the Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, was. And the Kabbalists explain why. Why did Moses have to come to fear of the power of Egypt? Is again a lesson for us. Maybe not so much for Moses, but Moses like an actor teaching us something. That just like that light bulb, sometimes we come to the habitual thought, I'll remove the darkness by turning on the switch. And we tend to forget that it's actually the light bulb. So Moses had to come to fear of Egypt and Pharaoh to remember and raise his certainty in his consciousness that he needed the power of the light because that was the only way to remove the darkness of Egypt. It wasn't the power of Moses. It was the power of the light through Moses being one of the most powerful channels. So you and I have to find a way to wake up and realize, yes, we may have experienced amazing things in our life, but it was always the light that made them happen. We channeled the light through us, we directed the light to different people in different situations, but it was not our own power because we don't have any power. We're just the vessel. But we do have the capability to shine the most powerful energy force in the entire universe onto every form of darkness and chaos and make it go away. But we have to remain in that consciousness. And so just like all the great righteous people, if you really read their stories, that's what they did. They acknowledged the power of the Creator, And then they channeled it through actions of love and forgiveness and kindness and compassion, etc. And therefore they created miracles. Because miracles is just another way of saying, take away all the limitations and let the pure light of the Creator show up. I want to share with you 2 stories before we finish along those lines. I have one student just came this week to tell me, so it's fresh, I wanted to share it with you. His mother, 90-something, slowly, unfortunately, as people tend to do as they get older, declining in her health or whatever. So she finally came to the point, she was in hospice, the doctor said, look, she's leaving, come and visit, this, that, and the other thing. So he took out his Zohar. This is just a small one, but he took out his volume 20 from the set. He scanned 40 pages of the Zohar he scanned for his mother. Miraculously, she suddenly woke up. She's no longer on her deathbed. She's back, as he called it, she's back to her normal, being 90-something. All right? But changed like this. I have another student who was telling me, some friends came into town. He invited them to stay in his apartment. They stole $9,000 from him. So, like he's learned Kabbalah, first thing he did was stop. He took out his Zohar. He started scanning because he wasn't sure. Should he call the police on them? Should he take them to court? What he should do, etc., etc. He started scanning the Zohar and just sending them light and sending them light and sending them light. In the end of the story, he got all of his money back. He has greater peace. He has no animosity, which is the biggest reward, right? And they got caught and they're being taken care of, right? Because he didn't do it, right? Out of his anger, out of his revenge. That was the biggest transformation. Because it may sound like the right thing to do. Most of us say, well, of course, you've got to call the police, you've got to take them to court, you've got to get your money back, etc. But if you do an action, even what looks like it's the proper action, but you do it out of anger, what does cause and effect bring back? The anger and the blockage. So it really is about just channeling the light through us, and the light will reveal the right things to do, the right things to say, how to act. So yes, it is being connected to the light, finding more ways and means to connect to the light. It is about having gratitude and appreciation for what the power of the light has done in our life as we were able to channel it, and therefore boost our consciousness and boost our desire to channel even higher light and remove more blockages, because we see the power of the light, we hear the stories of what the light can do, and therefore in the age of Aquarius, which we've been in for over 500 years Kabbalistically, waiting for that last day when peace on earth will show up, let's remember that it's you and I who are determining not only what happens for us, but as we will shine more of our light and we touch the heart and soul of other people, 7.5 billion people on the planet with the light of the Creator, that wakes up the light of the Creator in them, then they are going to be pressured. They're going to feel the force to act with greater love, kindness, compassion, and be unified. And that's the day that it says in Jeremiah, the day that He and His name will be one. That's the day when there will be peace on earth. And it's right now in our hands, and it's up to us. So let's work together. Let's hold the focus. Let's understand and make use of more of this technology so that we can not only pray and meditate and want to see peace on earth, but we can understand that everything is in place right now. And just like that jigsaw puzzle, it's only up to us to put the right pieces in the right place, guided by the light, which is the perfect pattern. And then there's no reason why we can't see peace and harmony and goodwill towards all. God bless. If you have questions, I know probably pushed a few buttons for some of you, or you may have different ideas, or any of you online, you're certainly welcome. Facebook me, ask the question, and as best I can, I will make sure to get the answers back to you. Because it does, in fact, one of the things I always share in the class is, if you're not confused by something you learn in Kabbalah, then you're not changing. There has to be an aspect of confusion, because confusion means what? Something that's coming in now seems to fly against something you've held as a habitual belief. So there's confusion, like conflict. The issue is not staying in the conflict or the confusion, but But now by working through this, understanding more, learning more, reading more, listening more, etc., is to remove the confusion, like put things in proper order. That's what we're here to do. But if you're feeling a little confused, yes, you're certainly welcome to Facebook me, ask the questions, I'll give you the answers. But this is also why we encourage you to take the classes. Many of you have. You can still learn online. If you have difficulty coming here, or those of you online, go to our online, Kabbalah.com. You can learn there. You can learn, we have a new site, Kabbalah1.com, which is the Power of Kabbalah Level 1, now in online also. So whichever way you can learn, or get the book, Power of Kabbalah, and read. Whatever it will take to help you enhance and shift your consciousness so that you remove the blockages and channel more light. That's really what it's about. So, we're here in every way, shape, and form possible that everybody on earth can learn this and work together in that same operating system. Okay? So part of what we do now, it is a free will offering, right? We are a charitable organization. Again, I do encourage you, if you don't have one of these pocket Zohars, a piece of the entire set, please avail yourself of it, because it just radiates light. Just like the light bulb. The light bulb, if you think about it, doesn't actually create light. It's the physical technology that allows the infinite light of the Creator to manifest as physical light. And that's why you have to put the pieces together properly, and you can't just do anything you want. Because again, there's spiritual technology, there's physical technology. So the Zohar is like the brightest light bulb, if you will, for the light of the Creator. It just literally shines that infinite light. So you can inquire about it, but I encourage you to do that. So what we always do now is whatever you like to offer, whatever gift you like to share with the center, please take it out, hold it in your hand, because we want to inject it with light and blessing. Those of you who are watching us online, you're welcome to do the meditation with us. And then you can go on Kabbalah.com to give. You can go on Spiritual Sunday website and give, whichever way. So just holding it in your hand, because we know the money is also just a vessel. And it will bring back to us what we put in it. So we just want to inject it with light and love and peace and harmony and forgiveness and tolerance. All the light of the Creator injecting into this gift, that it will go out through the various projects of the center to reach the heart and soul of every human being on earth. By sending it out with this blessing, breaking through more and more of our curtains and our veils and our blockages, that we send it out to touch the heart and soul of people around the world, to break through their blockages, to become more and more aware of the light force of perfection in them, the truth about their nature, and feel the desire to act with greater Godlike behavior, love, kindness, compassion. We also acknowledge and appreciate the power the Creator's given us to be able to have these blessings, these resources, and we send it out into the world for peace and harmony. And we open our eyes and we say, Amen. Let's wish our friends who are online a happy week, happy Spiritual Sunday. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. Let them hear you. Bye. Have a great week.